Okay, hello and welcome back to Critical Conversations. Today we're going to continue on a short series that I'm running, and we're going to dive into topic number 2. So grab a comfy seat, something delicious to drink. If you're driving, snuggle up. We're going to have a beautiful conversation that is going to continue upon the previous episode. The previous episode should be labeled, I believe, the 5 stacking or the compound effect. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet. But in that episode, we talked all about how we're going to take 5 different practices over 5 days, and it should take no more than 5 minutes. So if you haven't checked out that episode, head over there. We talk about some self-sabotaging practices, ways to get out of kind of that cycle of living a life for others, and how we can really come back to the self and live a life and take better care of ourselves, and how starting small with stacking and really compounding our gratitude practice is one really powerful way in order for us to change our direction and get us going down a path that we want to go down. So today we're building upon that, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth around the fear of the unknown. And we're going to talk about getting a little bit uncomfortable. And this is often a place for you to really pause. This is where I'm going to challenge some of your beliefs, and your brain is going to ask you to not listen. Your brain is going to say, this isn't safe. Your body will start to say, this is uncomfortable. And instead of shying away or trying to rationalize or logicize what is ever coming up for you, I want you to just lean in and be here with me. So this part of our conversation is really going to be formed around getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's really all about returning to the concept of being able to handle myself. I mentioned that in the first episode of this series. And so really when we're looking at our life, and we're looking at the way in which we're currently showing up to life, and then we're looking at how we are contributing to life, there's patterns of behavior. And if we start to deepen our awareness and become more conscious creators, we start to see the ways in which our brain entangles us in these known patterns. And your brain is functioned this way to keep you safe. It wants you to do the known thing. It wants you to stay in cycles that don't serve you because it knows them. It knows what to expect. So let me explain this a little bit further. Let's just take the example. Of you're in a partnership. You are living with this person, and you both have different things that you go off and do during the day. You come together. However, you're having dinner, you have dinner, and the same conversation comes up, the same topic, whether that's a heated conversation or a calm, rational conversation. It doesn't really matter. But you notice that there's a pattern of behavior that is consistent. It's repetitive. You kind of are living in this order of operations, right? You get up a certain way, you go to work a certain way, you drive a certain route, you have the same standing appointments, you either are avoiding certain conversations or certain things in your work day or your just living day, right? We're not always working beings. Sometimes we're just living beings. But there's like an order of operations, like a chain of commands that we've created. You come home, you have very similar conversations, or you're not having conversation at all. And that is similar. And so what the brain has done is it understands these order of operations. And so what starts to happen when we look towards leaning into getting uncomfortable, or we lean into, even the topic critical conversations, right? When we're leaning into the different thing, when we're trying something new, our brain and our body, our physical body, you'll actually have some physical reactions as well, where it will say, nope, 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 nope. And then you will revert and go back to the old behavior pattern. So we're taking this example of, you're living with somebody, whether it's a roommate or a partnership or a spouse, you're living with this person and you start to realize, I'm going to do it a little differently. So you start to do it a little differently. And what's going to happen is that person, whether or not you've communicated this, is going to be curious about this new change. And so in that new change, you have a choice to be of a reaction to the way that they're responding, right? Because they are also, this is the piece that is really hard in this personal development journey. Blanca, sorry, my dog is chewing on something she's not supposed to. Come here, baby. Your brain is going to react and respond because they are reacting and responding because they too have this cycle of known behavior patterns. So it's like, do you ever see or realize you have the same argument again and again? Or you have the same avoidance of an argument, the same frustration again and again? These are the cycles I'm talking about. So you finally see, okay, there's a cycle here. There's a piece of the story that I'm looking to change. I want to get curious about how to change it. And you try something new. And the other person might have a reaction or a response, positive or negative. And you in that moment have a choice to go deeper, to continue on the path of change, or revert to old cycles. We can take working out as maybe it's an easier example. So let's say everybody loves the New Year's resolution. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I'm not going to drink. Right? So we have these like dry months. We do dry January or whatever it is, right? Totally like good for you. High fucking five. But what I want you to understand is why most people can't follow through with it is because at some point your brain and your body becomes so fucking uncomfortable in this new pattern that you're trying to shift that it will revert and you will end up self-sabotaging. So in that first episode, I talked about being able to handle yourself and the people pleasing that we are patterned into and the self-sabotage we're patterned into. This is actually like scientific stuff here with your brain. Your brain is saying, don't do it. Go the other way, because for the pure reason that your brain understands how to handle itself in those ways. So this is why you have these repetitive cycles, these repetitive conversations, these repetitive arguments, these repetitive thoughts. This is why if you're trying to integrate a dry January or a exercise routine or whatever it is, you're trying to change a pattern, you eventually can either fight through the brain and the body getting like freaked out, or you revert back to your old cycles. So that getting uncomfortable is the hardest part because our brain understands the argument. It knows what's going to come next. So I'm going to use an example from my own life. Here's a vulnerable share. My husband and I used to have the same fucking argument again and again and again and again. And I would try to avoid it, early on, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, even 3 years ago. I would try to avoid this topic, right? That's how I was playing safe. I was avoiding the conversation. I wouldn't even go there because I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't like the way it made me feel. So my pattern of behavior was avoidance in this one topic. And it was the one topic my husband really wanted to talk about. And it was all about like, what are we doing with our lives? Like, I'm over here working my ass and you're kind of like floundering and like, what are you up to? And so it was literally about like, what's the path and how are we connected and moving forward together as a unit, right? So he was trying to have this conversation of like, can we come together for a common goal? And I'm like, avoid, because I understood how to avoid it. I understood, okay, he's going to get frustrated. We're going to have a giant argument, but then we're going to go to bed and tomorrow it'll be the same. Like I knew what happened next. The order of operations had been so, repetitive in my life. It was such a common thread that I knew how to handle myself. So when I started to actually want to change the narrative, right? Like I decided, okay, instead of shying away, I'm going to actually sit down and have this uncomfortable conversation. I'm going to actually, wear my heart on my sleeve and be vulnerable with my partner. I'm going to lean in here to the change. I'm going to push through and get uncomfortable. And it's like you kind of go in this pattern of like, okay, I'm going to take one step towards change. And then you're like, abort. And you like run 10 steps backwards. And then maybe, a week later, you're like, okay, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to lean in here. I'm going to change. And you maybe take 3 or 5 steps and then you're like, abort. And you only take 2 steps back. And so it's kind of this, like this theory of like 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of a thing. And you just kind of repeat this. And what happens is, as you push through the discomfort, right? The brain is trying to keep you safe. It's uncomfortable to keep trying the new thing. Your body's trying to keep you safe. It's uncomfortable to feel that stress in our body, right? Like for me, it was like my chest and my shoulders would get really tight. And I'm like, maybe my heart would start racing. Maybe my palms would start sweating. And so it's like, I had to stay with it. I had to stick with that discomfort that was either physical or mental or even emotional, right? Like there's emotions that come and it's like there's trauma there. I mean, this is multi-layered here, right? We're just doing like a 30-minute podcast. So this is like one tiny little layer on the onion. And this is why mentorship is so powerful, because we're able to stick with it together, right? We have this intimate relationship in coaching where we get to pull back the onion layer and then I hold you through it. I'm with you every step of the way, right? So going back to this idea of uncomfort, you have to stick with it. You have to decide that it's more important to change and try something new than it is to stay in the cycle that your brain and body know how to navigate. This is why when you are trying that new exercise routine or that meditative routine or, going to therapy or whatever it is, this is why we give up, because it's hard. And the hard isn't like, oh, a math problem hard, right? It's not like this math problem we can sit down and solve. It's like learning how to be okay not being okay. It's learning how to be like, okay, this is really fucking uncomfortable. My physical body, my emotional body, like this is like really challenging. And it's even more challenging because it's not like a problem that you can dissect or Google and really get to the solution. It's like the solution lies with you learning to be okay being uncomfortable. And so most people don't change their lives because they're too used to that known cycle and being uncomfortable, leaning into fear. They're unwilling to do it because they don't know how to be with what is. And so this really is a bigger topic around like peer positive presence. This is a big topic around like, really working through your fears, right? So like I used to freak out about things all the fucking time, but it's like, instead of running from these things, avoiding these things and going back to these known cycles, instead of turning away, I turned towards it and I leaned in and I said, okay, I'm changing because I cannot live the way I have been living. I know that there's something better for me. I know that change is possible and I know I have to lean in. And this fucking sucks, but I'm going to lean in. This is going to be really uncomfortable. And it might be a physical discomfort. It might just be your emotional or mental well-being, but I'm going to turn towards it and I'm going to fucking stand here. I'm going to plant my feet in the ground and I'm not moving. I'm not moving until I get a different result. And so if we take it back to the example I was giving around my husband and I having conversations and coming together and just like aligning our lives, right? Like we had gotten into this pattern of he's going over here doing whatever he's doing, I'm going over here doing whatever I'm doing, and it's like we're missing the mark of like the connection of our relationship. And also just like the empire we're building, right? Like if we're working towards a common goal, it's cool that he has one direction and I have another, but it's like there's a commonality that needs to exist. So instead of shying away from that conversation because I was afraid of, let's see, so let's get into it. I was afraid of being seen. I was afraid of receiving. I didn't know. I'm still working on this, and it's a really fucking crazy one. Let me tell you. I'm working on how to receive love for the sake of just like I exist, therefore I am loved. I am working on being able to receive because I'm worthy. So there's a worthiness factor there. And then there was like this fear I had of somebody else claiming my success. Someone else saying, "Oh, you got there because of me." And so I had to lean into these fears that were creating conflict in my life. And they weren't just in my marriage. It was in my like ability to have a meaningful career and meaningful friendships. So what happens when you turn towards the thing that you're avoiding, the fear, you start to understand and you can peel back these bigger layers where it's like, well, where in my life did I feel like I wasn't celebrated? Where in my life did I feel like I wasn't worthy of the thing that I actually wanted? And how am I getting in my own way? And so this getting uncomfortable, it's not about the other people. It's not about anybody. It's about you. And it's about sitting with the discomfort of who the fuck you are and getting to know yourself and changing the narrative from I'm this fearful person who isn't worthy to fuck that. I'm not afraid of anything and I am worthy. And I'm worthy just because I exist. I'm worthy because I'm here, because I have 2 feet on earth. That's enough. I'm enough. I deserve it. And I get to receive. I get to be a co-creator in my life experience. I get to have everything I want just because I exist and I said so. And that gets to be enough. So the uncomfortableness is about getting to know who you are. Who are you? What is it that you desire? And why are you avoiding it? Why are you getting in your way? You know, I hear people all the time make excuses for why they're not where they want to be. You know what? Like, I don't believe that. The only excuse is that you're standing in your own way for one reason or many reasons. And the only person who can save you from those reasons is you. There is no knight in shining armor. And you guys, I know you've heard this story. You know, we've been conditioned for it, especially as women. We are conditioned to believe that the knight in shining armor is going to save the day, that the man who's going to take care of us will save the day, that the money will save the day, that the new career will save the day. But I'm going to tell you one thing, all your dirty secrets, all your bad fucking habits, everything you're afraid of will follow you. It will follow you. So the money won't fix it. The partner, the dream person who's going to come love you and save the day won't fix it unless you fucking love yourself. The money won't fix it unless you're okay not having the money. When you're okay not having the money is an enhancement. It's the fucking cherry on top. But you're already cool with the sundae. You got it. You have to start looking at yourself. And this is why my whole motto, my whole premise is choose you. This is why it's so important to debunk these beliefs that you're holding about yourself, that you're not worthy, that you're not deserving, that you can't do it alone, that you aren't worthy of receiving, that people don't love you. None of that's true. You're getting your own way, and we have to change these beliefs. But the only way you can change these beliefs is if you get more curious about the desires you have and what's getting in the way of that desire being of fruition right here and now, and the fears, which is ultimately, fears are what we avoid, right? If we're afraid of spiders, we avoid areas where spiders exist. If we're afraid of snakes, we avoid areas where snakes exist. So when we continue our life avoiding or blocking our desire, right? So we block our desire and we avoid our fear, we don't fucking live. We just go through the motions and we become this order of operations that is like very predictable. And so the discomfort and the beauty of life happens when we learn to be okay. And this is the I can handle it. I can handle it. I know I'm going to survive. I'm going to be okay. I can handle this discomfort because I started small. I started to get a little bit uncomfortable, and then I saw, oh, there's change. So then I kept turning towards the discomfort instead of turning away from it. Oh, look, another piece of evidence. I'm okay. Your life, no matter what you want to believe, is within your hands. You're not a victim. You're not a victim. There just is this present moment where you get to decide to have your power or continue the cycle. And I'm not trying to, belittle anyone who's had trauma happen to them. I'm not trying to say that bad things didn't happen to you and you're not allowed to have feelings about that. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that right now, today, you can choose to let that go, or you can choose to perpetuate it and continue the self-sabotage in a known cycle. And in that way, you're playing it safe, you're playing it small, and you're nowhere near living the life that you deserve. And you know what? You're worthy of something different. You're worthy of something more. And it's because you're going to get curious about what you're afraid of. It's because you're going to navigate your trauma instead of turning away from your trauma and allowing your trauma to be the reason why your life is so fucked up. You're going to say, I'm going to use my trauma as fuel to help me pursue what I'm worthy of. And I know that I can do it. And you guys, if you have deep shit trauma, please seek help. Get help. You should be going to therapy. You should be talking to experts who can support this narrative to change, because the change is possible, but we have to get uncomfortable. It means you're going to have to look at your shit. There's no way around it. The way around it is this, like, filling the void with more void. It just makes a deeper wound inside of you. And it's like the moment I started to get curious about my wounds, my trauma, the things that had happened to me, and I started to process them and I started to look at them and understand them, I changed my perspective. I took my power back and I said, actually, I'm going to look at it this way. And I'm going to allow this to be the thing that helps me change my life. And I'm going to teach from it. I'm going to lead from it. I'm going to support and guide and walk next to others who are ready to look at theirs because they want something better. So it's not about not being who you are. It's not about not being in the experience that you're having, because the truth is that bad shit will continue to happen. It is all about your choice and the perspective you choose to hold about it. And it's the trust within the self to know that, okay, I'm really uncomfortable. This is really sad. This is really, devastating. This is really challenging. This is really overwhelming, but I can handle it because I know I can handle it. I've already done a lot of hard things. I'm still here. I'm going to keep going. It's a choice. It is a choice. It is a choice. And again, it's what are you making it mean? When we're avoiding, we're making it mean that we can't do hard things. And you, my love, you were made to do hard things. You were made to outshine the darkness. So if you're still listening, keep listening. I've got 2 more episodes coming, maybe even 3. And we're going to go another layer deeper. If you're curious about how I could support you, what that journey would look like, please feel free to reach out. You can email me hello@carissadean.com or find me on any social media platform. And it is at Coach Carissa Dean with an underscore in between each word. We'll be back with more critical conversations. And what I hope you know and walk away with today is, number 1, go back to the episode before this, the 5-on-5 stacking method. Start stacking. And number 2, just play with a little bit of discomfort. Lean in just a little bit. Turn towards it one time and see how you can trust yourself. See how you can lead yourself. See how you can deepen a knowing within you that you fucking got this.